Awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good morning, nerds.
Exactly.
Who does it? Who's like, I'm going to go see the news live?
Well, you have never endorsed anybody. You didn't endorse Obama. People came back from the dead, black people, to endorse Obama. What do you know about Ben Jealous that makes you want to come out and endorse Ben Jealous?
What do I know about Dave Chappelle?
I know exactly.
I'm not, Van, I'm not a real political dude.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a cynic when it comes to politics. However, this particular election was exciting to me because Ben and I like family. Our fathers were best friends. My dad was his godfather.
Wow.
And when I was growing up, I never met Ben. He was just like a picture on the wall. When I moved to New York to do stand-up, my dad said, you got a godbrother at Columbia. You should go and hook up with him. And Ben and I hooked up, and we became fast friends. First thing I realized about Ben, we're similar in age, but his intellect was daunting.
Yeah.
Man, this guy is one of the smartest people I'd ever met. And from the time I was 17 to now I'm 44, I watched him work on equity, like sincerely and diligently work on equity outside of the system. Ben got kicked out of Columbia.
True.
At one point.
Protest.
He was protesting. The university had bought the Audubon Ballroom where Malcolm X was assassinated, and they were going to demolish it. And Ben was incensed, and he was like, man, you got to come up to this protest with me. And I was like, I'm good. and Ben got himself arrested. He got put out of school. And for 2 years, I watched him, try to find his way. Academia was his life, and it was taken from him. And it was 2 long years. He got back into Columbia and killed it.
Right. Got
the Rhodes Scholarship. And it was very...
First of all, that's hard to do right there.
Yeah. That's right. And when he got the scholarship, excuse me, everyone was very proud of Ben. And my father said to Ben, he said, I'm very happy, I'm very proud that you won the scholarship. And then he said, my fear is that they're awarding you this scholarship so that you'll no longer be a threat. Pop was a gangster. My dad was a cynic, too.
His dad went to Brown University at age 15.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that was him, not me.
But it was also like 1953 or something.
Yeah, well, it was not a comfortable time to be Brown at Brown. but my dad's fears were because he's from the generation where we petitioned the system from the outside. This is a post-Obama world. We've seen a community activist become the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And these times are daunting, man. I mean, even as a comedian, I travel all around the country. It's cynical out here. It's polarized in a way that I've never seen it before. And I feel like Ben is the uniter. I feel like as a policymaker, he's imaginative, and he understands people, like actual people. And for a cynic like me, he restores my faith in an institution that takes an enormous amount of money from me.
The government.
Yeah, the government. That's right. It makes me understand that a person that I know and trust can actually participate in government at a very high level and affect real change that I think is pertinent.
But you also are trying to build some interesting bridges. I want to show a clip that I think can get us off to a good start in this, trying to bridge some of these divides. Let's hear a little bit from Dave in your genre, as you say.
Felt like decent folk. And I listened to him. I listened to him say naive, poor white people things.
That's such a brilliant distillation of where we are. People don't know. You live in rural Ohio. People think of you as this urban legend, but you actually live in rural Ohio.
Yes, I do.
And now we're, 2 years in. The economy has gotten better than it's continued to get better. What would you say to those folks who are still big Trump supporters today as we go into the midterms?
This is a tough question for me, Van. I got to tell you, first of all, the town that I live in is a small town.
Yes.
And it's like a little blue Bernie Sanders island in the Trump Sea. They love Donald Trump. I don't even know that they love him as much as they're frustrated, they're fed up, and a lot of these white people feel like their voices don't matter anymore. That their concerns aren't important or what have you. So, to be honest with you, in the name of safety, I wouldn't tell him anything about that guy. I don't believe that I'll change him by his mind or anything. Right. But for me personally, I get along with everybody, whether I agree with them politically or not.
Right.
But
I thought,
when you're actually trying to pull this democracy together, keep it from getting torn apart, you have to talk to everybody. You have to listen to everybody.
That's right.
I was out on the Eastern Shore, and I was giving a speech. And a guy who voted for Trump asked me what I thought about Medicare for all. And I said, I support it. He said, well, what if they won't do it at the federal level? I said, then we'll do it at the state level. He said, then I'll vote for you.
Trump support.
Yeah, I said, and I kind of said, I said, you voted for Trump, and now you're going to vote for the former national president of the NAACP. I said, tell me why. He said, I'm a finance manager at a car dealership. My bottom line is my business and my people. Neither one of them gets healthier until we can get health care we can afford. And if he won't do it, and you will, then I'll vote for you.
There is this question, though, around Democrats versus Republicans. And you have people like Kanye West who's saying, listen, love you guys and Democrats.
Excuse me 1 second.
You know where I'm going with this. Kanye says that, it's time out for Democrats. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that, first of all, Kanye is an artist, man.
Yes.
And he's a genius.
Absolutely.
Whatever he's saying right now, I think that the angle he's seeing things from is about the division that he sees. And he's not inconsistent with what he's saying. For instance, a decade ago, I read a quote where he said he wanted to take the Confederate flag and reappropriate it some other different kind of way. I mean, there's a MAGA hat, whatever, man. The thing that's scary about this presidency is after it. I don't know if you've been married before or had a girlfriend and said something in a fight that was so wrong, and then after that, we still family, we still around each other, but man, I sure did say all that shit, didn't I? And I'm not mad at Kanye. That's my brother. I love him. I support him. I buy his albums.
No claps. Oh, man, that was rough.
I know, whether people clap or not. But, I don't have to agree with everything that he says. I just trust him as a person of intent. Mm-hmm. But, he shouldn't say all that shit.
But let me take it on the argument then. So to take it.
For sure, you don't have to agree with everything he says, right? And nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. We all say things and do crazy things sometimes out of thought of us being perfect. But no, not all of us are perfect. We make mistakes so much. And Kanye West wasn't perfect. Donald Trump isn't perfect. And Dave Chappelle himself isn't perfect. One thing I really like and appreciate about Dave Chappelle is him really honoring people and respecting people. It is something very, very astonishing, something very peculiar and unique about him. Say he spoke about his event guy next to him. It's really nice. If we can all do that, it will be something very, very great.
Personality out of it. What about the argument he's making, which is that, it's almost you're in this PC prison, you can't say anything, and you're not allowed to vote for Republicans if you're African American. What's your argument to people who feel like it's time to give Republicans a chance? It's an argument being made by a minority.
But I'll say this: I'm not a partisan dude. If he ran as a Republican, I'd vote Republican. If I got a chance to vote for somebody like this, I'm voting for.
This isn't about
like
party. This is about ideas.
That's right.
the ideas have kind of migrated from party to party. The Democrats used to be much more conservative. Today, however, unfortunately, there's only one party that stands for civil rights. There's only one party that stands for environmental protection. And we have to, as voters, really listen to the ideas. What I say to folks is that look, the war on drugs has failed. Trickle-down economics has failed. We have to have the courage to put ideas on the table that actually lift up working families, white, black, brown, Native American, Asian American. We've got to move beyond the labels of party and look at ideas, but let's also be clear. Donald Trump's party is Donald Trump's party. And what they stand for right now, we have to fight with everything we have.
The other big issue, we're talking about race, talking about class, gender. We're now in a situation where a whole new set of voices is coming forward. How do you guys look at the role of this new movement for women's empowerment, the Me Too movement, et cetera?
I hope it succeeds. What we all have to realize is that we all have to stand up in this moment and say that these women who have the courage to step forward, these men in many places, the courage to step forward who were sexually assaulted as well, we have to believe survivors. We have to have their back, and we have to figure out how we finally leap forward. Because we've been staying stuck for a long time. It shattered a lot of lives, and enough is enough.
Yeah, I think that for most men, especially the men that I'm talking to, one, I'll tell you that as a movement, it's effective. Like in Hollywood, man, they are buttoning up.
Which is good.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's better than good. It's necessary. Two, I'll say that there's a lot of men that are learning for the first time the extent of the plight of the women in their lives.
We're just learning that consent is important. Most of our states, they don't teach consent when they teach sex ed. Think about that.
That's right. And this is a tough discussion, but it needs to be had. Yeah. And people need to learn the lessons, and we need to listen to one another. Yeah. I think that some people are so threatened by the movement, or they're so worried about it, that they're not hearing the messaging behind it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's an idea this time has come, and we'll see.
Did you watch the Kavanaugh testimony, the hearings, all that kind of stuff?
I've seen highlights. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. What was your take and impression? Can you imagine an African American or a female yelling at them senators like that?
Oh, you mean the way that Kavanaugh yelled?
Yeah. Or any of it.
You know, man, I'm from this area. Like, I grew up around here, and the sad thing about it is, I believe, sadly, if that woman had gone to the police in 1982 and told them exactly what she had told the Senate, that he wouldn't have gone to jail. Not in that place, not in that time, not with no name like Brett Kavanaugh. It was daunting. It also made me sad that this is a national discussion that's happening during a Supreme Court nominee's hearing. It's a tough time for this country, man.
We got a lot more to talk about. I want to talk to Ben, and I want to talk to Dave Chappelle about mass incarceration and marijuana, which I never thought I'd talk to Ben Jealous about when we get back. Welcome back to the Van Jones Show. I'm here with comedy legend Dave Chappelle and the man that got him to wade into politics, Democratic nominee for the Maryland governorship, Ben Jealous. Give them both a round of applause to be back. What did you say to Ben Jealous to get him to be pro-marijuana decriminalization? Because I've known Ben for a long time, and that has not Ben's thing. So what did you must have done, you must have said something. I'm not nearly as fun as some of my friends. Exactly. I can testify that you are not. So what was that conversation like to get somebody like a Ben Jealous to be on board with decriminalizing marijuana?
Well, you know, Ben, you just got to be consistent. No, I'm just kidding. I couldn't take credit for it, man. But I got to say, when I heard it was on his platform, I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah. I think that it's a very important issue, especially in the state of Maryland. And you can speak more about that, but how it affects Baltimore. But
as you know, Maryland's gone through a lot the last few years. We had big uprisings in Baltimore City after the Freddie Gray case. 2 years later, murders have kept climbing up. I asked a retired member of the Baltimore Police Department, recently retired captain, to go across the city, as only a retired member of BPD could, and talk to commanders on the ground and find out what they were saying about why murders were going on. He came back, he said, there are two interesting data points. He said, One was that nobody could really agree. A lot of debate about what's been happening in the last 2 years. He said, on the other hand, if the question is what's been going on in the last 10 years, they were all in agreement that half the shootings in the city, half the murders in the city were one set of marijuana dealers killing another set of marijuana dealers. And I said, how could that be? I think it was a relatively peaceful drug. He says, but it's not about the drug. It's about the trade. The violence of the trade is about territory. And a little idea, a little light bulb went off in my head. He said, look, if this is no more harmful than alcohol, and alcohol we all know can be very harmful in many ways, then if we legalize it, and the police officer told me we can bring down killings, I said, well, what's happening in Washington State? What's happening in Colorado? Killings are coming down. And I said, and then we take money out of the pockets of gangs and cartels, and we put the money in the pockets of farmers and business people, and we do that in an equitable way. That's a big deal. And then we tax it, and we take the money that we can tax from it, and we're able to fund, it's enough money to fund universal pre-K for every universal full-day pre-K for every 4-year-old in the state.
So you came at it more as a business guy and as a smart dad guy, as opposed to...
Well, and as a murder victim family member. I've had 2 family members shot in Maryland in the last 10 years. And
Yeah, coming to the part of marijuana, not everybody feel that legalizing it would help. But the thing is sensitization. I think sensitization is more of the key rather than legalizing it, though. Sensitize people to know the benefits and disadvantages of it, and people will themselves decide if they want to consume it or they want to stay away from it. A lot of mental illness, mental challenges in the states, and that's why you see a lot of people go about using it and also consuming it. So I think sensitization will be the best thing, the best solution.
If you tell me that we can bring down killings by legalizing cannabis, you have my full attention.
I'm just saying, man, it doesn't just quell violence in Baltimore. It stops a lot of violence and a lot of mayhem, and it's fun to smoke and relax.
Well, look, that may be true about marijuana, but there are other drugs that are much worse. Our mutual friend, all of us had a mutual friend in Prince who died because of a fentanyl overdose. I saw you in a stand-up thing in Los Angeles where you were talking about the impact of heroin in rural America. What are you seeing in rural America when it comes to this whole opioid epidemic?
A role reversal.
A role reversal?
Yeah. Poor white people look like black people in the 80s with a different drug of choice. And it's very sad to hear the vocabulary, now this is a health crisis. We were begging for them to call that crack epidemic a health crisis. We were criminalized, we were marginalized, and now these heroin addicts are here, and man, if they don't have our baby clothes on, it's terrible to see.
In both ways, it's terrible to see the pain and suffering, and terrible to see the hypocrisy politically.
Yeah.
What's your concern about marijuana legalization possibly then opening the floodgates for things like opioids, heroin, fentanyl?
There's a lot of lives that are being shattered right now. I mean, opioid deaths in Maryland up 160% in 4 years. We have to treat it like a public health crisis. And I wish we could go back in time. We can't. We just got to learn and go forward. In that respect, this is a gateway drug to common sense on drug reform. Wow. We've got to deal with this public health crisis as a public health crisis.
Famously on SNL, you said you wanted to give Trump a chance, but you also wanted to make sure that he gave disenfranchised people a chance. Looking at the Trump presidency almost 2 years in, do you feel that he gave disenfranchised people a chance?
It's hard to tell where Trump ends and his constituents begin, but I think that the rhetoric of his presidency is repugnant. I just don't like the way he talks. I don't like, there's certain... We're living in a time where there's got to be a little more cultural sensitivity. And even a guy like me that's just writing jokes, I have to listen more than I've ever had to listen because the gripes is coming so fast and furious. And I'm not dismissive of people's gripes. It might sound like it on stage, but I listen. And as a president of a country that's as eclectic as ours, you look around your crowd, you see it's like a patchwork of people. I just think that he's speaking to a very small choir. And there's so many more opinions that the way he engages public is dismissive. I don't like talking bad about the president, but I said we should give him a chance because he's the president of the United States now. What choice do I have?
Right, right.
No, but I think you also apologized for that sometime later, didn't you?
Well, I don't ever apologize, but just,
Yeah,
what
what
I
you
said
said.
is, I said I shouldn't have said that shit.
Let's be clear, right? Let's be clear. Donald Trump is playing a politics of divide and conquer. He's picking scapegoats all day long. Muslims, Mexicans, immigrants, black folks, women, it goes on and on.
Yep.
Right? Occasionally, and so what do we do in that moment? We actually have to listen to each other. We have to talk to each other respectfully. We got to pull each other together, because the only thing that beats the politics of divide and conquer is the politics of unite and prosper. And that's only possible if we're willing to respect each other and listen to each other.
Well, listen, you gave people a reason to tune in, and you're giving people a reason to turn out. I can't tell you how much it means. My dream is coming true, having a show like this. I know your dreams have come true, being able to be one of the greatest that we've ever seen rock the microphone. And for you to be on the campaign trail raising these issues, dreams can't come true in America. When we get back, I'm talking to the most famous astrophysicist in the universe, Neil deGrasse Tyson. We're going to get his take on the increasing attacks on climate science and President Trump's Space Force when we get back.
No, it's really nice as ventures went on, like celebrating Dave Chappelle and also other people. I never knew that Prince passed away from fentanyl, though. I have no idea. That thing is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. All those drugs, they are not good at all. No, Trump did his thing, tried his best, same as other presidents, where they all have their good and bad sides, and at the end of the day, it's just to give people a chance, and let them do what they say they will do. If they don't do it, at the end of the day, we'll learn from it and move on, That is life, and that is what life is all about.